This is Maverick. There you go, buddy. There's a treat for you. In this video, we're going to go over how you can set your dog up to actually like getting their nails trimmed. Now, I'm probably, and his are sharp, and I'll talk about that in a sec. I'm not going to achieve it in this one setting, and this is, if you watch the Dog Whisperer or TV shows, you think I can fix it one time. That's not real life. Or if you do, you're cheating, and then you're not fixing the problem for good. Now, I have a bunch of high-value treats in this hand. That's why he's pawing at it. Now, his paws right now, when you trim their nails, he actually has a problem. He doesn't like having his paws touched. He doesn't mind so much if he's shaking, but he probably had somebody go in too quick on far in his nails. So he's a black and white dog, obviously. When he has black on his toe, then his nail actually is black. If he's got white on his toe, those nails are translucent. I have the same similar situation. I have Dalmatians. So if the paw is white, then all the nails are white. When they're white, you can see what we call the quick, which is that pink part in the nail. Then you'll see a white part. That is the dead nail that you can trim off. Now, if you use these things pinch down, so it will create pressure. And if you get too close to the quick, it will hurt them. If you go into the quick, it will really hurt them, and it will bleed quite a bit. Now, these also, when they make a cut, just like any other cut that's a right angle, it's now a 90-degree angle. And then if the dog, you're going to get a scratch mark anytime the dog puts his paws on you, and these dogs, him and his partner, put their paws on a lot. And so you guys probably get scratched quite a bit. He has to be actually put to sleep when he goes to the vet's office, and they do a really unorthodox way of getting in the shot, because he also doesn't like getting the shots, otherwise he tries to take a bite out of the vet. Well, anyways, that hard angle creates a lot of scratches. So I actually prefer using a Dremel. A Dremel is essentially an emery file on the end of a drill bit, and so it goes around and around. So if I can hold if this is the Dremel, I hold it to the nail and spinning this way, and it files down the nail for me. It allows me to put a nice round edge on, so when the dog jumps up and it won't scratch. It's blunted. So now this is something best done when you have a puppy. You can do it as an adult. It takes time. And I would recommend that you guys actually do this with his kibble, how you feed him. I'm going to show you a different way of feeding him, but to do this specifically, I would do it with independent of the other dog. You need to feed him a lot. Now, one last thing, if you get a Dremel or you want to get one, I got one at Target and Walmart and a bunch of places, and they're cheap. They're about 40 bucks. I have to put batteries in every time I did 4 nails for my dog. I found the best way to go, best one to get is off Dremel.com. Ironically, it will be hard to find a Dremel on Dremel.com. They sell a lot of other equipment as well. You're looking for the pet Dremel. It's battery powered, it's lithium ion, so you can charge the battery, so you have to buy batteries each time you do it. Now, for a lot of dogs, all dogs learn through association, repetition, and good timing. You have a maximum of really about 3 seconds to correct or reward the dog for them to have the ability to make the connection. So what I want to do is I want to use this to create a positive association with these things. Now, I'm going to do it in a whole bunch of different associations, and we're not going to go to cutting, because once we start cutting, that's the final act. If we haven't prepared the dog, they won't like it, and now he tries to hurt people who try to trim his nails if they don't do it. Now, the Guardian's been working with him and like petting him and doing stuff like this, and you can see he used to run away as soon as they pulled this out. Again, I have a negative association with it. So what we want the dog to do is create a positive association with it. Now, the first thing that I would do is I would get the dog used to having its nails messed with. I'm going to move a little bit closer to the camera so you can see us a little bit closer for this part of it. So he does have a shake, correct? Okay. Shake, shake. So first, all I'm going to do is just get him used to me touching his paw. Shake, shake, shake. Come on, buddy. Now, I'm not grabbing it. If I grab it, that's going to be the beginnings of an experience he's not going to like. I want him to do it voluntarily. Shake. Come on, buddy. Shake. There we go. I'll treat for that. That's the way. If your dog won't do it, if it moves its paw like that, give it a treat right away. This is called free shaping. And eventually, at first, usually it's a little while. There we go. And then he gets another treat. This is a way of teaching him putting his paw up is what gets you the treat. Sit. There we go. So now we've established this, and I've not practiced this with him before. This is all live. So, all right, so now he's comfortable giving me his paw, but he's giving me his paw. I'm not taking his paw. So now I'm going to hold one of his dew claw, and then I'm going to give him a treat. And hold it while he chews it, and then I let go. And you see a little bit tip of his penis coming out. For dogs, it doesn't always mean sexual. That can mean he likes the activity, not in a sexual way. All right, paw, shake. Now I'm going to hold this digit, and then give him a piece. Paw. And the first time, a couple times when you do it, you come up with a word that means to paw. I wouldn't say shake. I usually recommend not practicing the shake. Let's try it again. There we go. Now I'm holding the next nail, and I give him a treat. So basically what we're doing is we're holding his paw. First of all, we're getting him used to just touching his paw so he doesn't have a negative association with it. Then we start holding each individual digit, but nothing else is happening. So we do this, and this is why I usually like to do kibble. So have a bowl of kibble or have somebody else give you a piece of kibble. So ideally what you would do, ooh, that's some pungent stuff. He's a little gassy. And so what I want to do is I can do it in two ways. I can give him the treat and then mess with the digit. Yes, let's not get the bag. I'm going to get all the good stuff out of the bag, huh, buddy? It's like, well, he stopped giving me treats. So the first way I can do is I give him the piece and then mess with his digit. But for his case, because he's particular about using his paws, I get him to give you his paw first and then give him the treat. And so you're going to do that with they have 4 nails, and then if they have dew claw, they could have 5. And I think he has dew claws in front and back. So he's going to have basically 20 treats or pieces of kibble. So when you first start doing this, I'll back a little bit further away. When you first start doing this, all you want to do is just get the dog comfortable with putting his paw in your hand or paw, and you're holding their digit, and you're not doing anything else. And so it might take a couple of meals. So when you're doing this, if the dog has any resistance pulling his paw away, you're not ready for the next step. So keep practicing that until the dog's like completely relaxed so you can mess with their nails. They just don't care. The next step is we want to have him have a positive association with this or with the Dremel. Now, I would do this with both devices. And I'm going to describe how to do this, and then I'll describe how to do the Dremel. They're similar, but there's a couple of variants. Maverick. Come here, buddy. So this is what's called a conditioned emotional response. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a bunch of high-value training treats. Sit. Just looking at the abrasion under your chin. So what I'm going to do is as a dog psychologist, a lot of times what I'll do is I want the dog to practice exposure to something in the easiest capacity possible. A lot of times I mean that by only one sense. So having this on his nails and trimming, that's the whole enchilada. So at this point, all I want to do is look at it and have something positive happen. So I'm going to have a handful of treats here. We like the dog over here. Sit. I'm going to have this in this hand. I'm putting both behind my back. Nope, you need to stay over here, buddy. Sit. Stay. Stay. So what I'm going to do is I pull it out, he looks at it, I pull it away, and I drop a treat on the ground. So in this case, all he has to do is look at it. Now, because the guardians have done some work, I'll probably be able to do the next step, which is get him to touch it with his nose. There you go. So first, all they have to do is look at it. He's already, because of the work that you guys did, he's ready to go a little bit further, and he's leaning for it, and that would be the next step. Sit. 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 And again, only repeat the command once. And as soon as he SITs, then I'm going to do it again. You're going to make me say it a second time, huh? Oh. Sit. So now he's starting to nose towards it. Eventually what will happen is he'll touch it. We'll see. And every time you do it, make sure there we go. And that one I might give him 2 or 3 because that's what we call a jackpot, because that's the next stage, that's the next level of difficulty. So all I want him to do is get used to touching this with his nose. Now we're not going to touch it with his nose when we're trimming, but we want, if he's comfortable enough to touch his nose with it, then that is a sign that he's comfortable about it. If your dog's really nervous about it, instead of doing what they did and petting with it, what I would do is just put it down like that, put a treat near it, let him approach it, get the treat, and run away. And if your dog does approach it and runs away, if he's got his foot out behind him like he's stealing second base, that's an indication that he's not comfortable. He's trying to stay as far away from it as possible. You want to do it until just walk up very comfortable, pick it up, and walk away after he gets the treat. So I would do this only if your dog is really fearful of it and he runs away. That's how I do that. I throw it on the ground, and he looks at it, we drop a treat. Well, actually, that's a CR. So it just drop a treat near it, and he just gets practice licking up treats while he's looking at it. The next step would be what I just showed you previously, holding it up and then dropping a treat. And at first he just has to look at it, and eventually he has to lean towards it, and then eventually he has to touch it with his nose. Okay, that's the next step. Now the step after that, what we would do, and we're going to, again, this is going to take a lot of practice. So the next step, and this is probably a 2-person step, I'm going to do it myself, but you probably do it. So you would have paw, and by this point we should say paw. Every time he puts a paw in your hand, you should give him a treat and say paw at first. So you can say paw, and he just puts his paw out there. Shake, shake, shake. It's like I was doing this earlier. Now you got me confused. Come on, shake. There we go. So now what I would do is We do this, and I would just touch this to the nail. I'm not trimming. And if you can't actually touch the nail, you're just going to move it a little bit towards, and if he kind of bares his lips, that's not aggression. That's him saying, I don't like what you're doing. So let's say he sit. Let's say his nose is actually his paw, and I'll get him to sit. Here you go, buddy. Come here. Motivation. Sit. So what I do is I bring it, if I can't actually touch his paw or he starts baring his lips when I do it, I'm just going to bring it close to his paw and away. Close to his paw. And I can actually take one of these and smash it so it's flat like this. And normally I'd be holding his paw, and we're just getting him used to the approach. We're not actually touching, we're not trimming. The next stage would actually be just to touch it to the end of his nail and not trim. And then grab the next nail. That's a dirty one. And then keep on doing that for each individual one. So he's just like, so at first you just want me to put my paw in your hand. Now you want to hold my digits. Now you're going to touch my digit with this. When I look at this thing, I get treats. So I think of this thing as a pretty positive thing. So then the last stage is you're going to actually, and some ages, instead of just holding it while you give them the treat, you want to hold it a little bit longer, closer to the nail, which is what you'll do when you're actually trimming it. And you might actually, before you start trimming it, these things have a little, if I can get it out, there we go. These things have, this one has a blocker, but it's a circle. So what you want to do is you might actually, before you're trimming, just get the dog, hold the nail, and put it around the nail, and not trim, and then pull it away. But you're going to give them the treat, then put it around the nail, pull away, then grab the paw, do the next nail, treat, run it on there, but not trimming. So we're getting him just used to each individual step of this, little by little by little. And eventually, and I'm going to tell you one other little secret in a second, but eventually you'll be able to start cutting. Now when you cut, make sure that you do not cut into the quick. That will send you so far back down the road, you'll be basically, it's zero. Even if you're just taking just a tiny little bit off. And after that, put it down and then give him a treat or two, and give him a little belly rub and a little bit of pet, and especially if he shows any nervousness or fear about it. We want him to like, wow, they just trimmed a tiny little bit off, and then I get a special rub, belly rub, and all those favorite parts that he likes, or I get 5 treats or whatever it is. We will make it a big deal. And this might, when you actually get to trimming, you might only do one nail, and then after that, play with him for a little bit. We want to make it, again, nothing but a completely positive experience. And a little tip that I mentioned a second ago is don't do this when he is full of beans. When he is all revved up and has all his energy, that is the worst time to do this. What you want to do is catch time when he's just like almost slumbering and just relaxed. That, or we can also set him up for success by exercising him quite a bit. And then by the time we do this, we've taken all that, I would say, the fight out of him. Because again, this is a force-free method. We're not forcing him. A lot of people like pin the dog down and hold it. Yeah, stop it. And and we're just making it a traumatic, negative experience. So the dog's less likely to want to do that. But if it's a massage, I get little treats, and it's just nothing bad has happened, and we go very slowly, I feel comfortable and relaxed. And I've seen dogs, if you do this right, again, it's easier when they're puppies, but actually you say, and like what you could do is actually say petty every time you give him a treat. So they say petty or Manny, and he's like, I went like pink today. And so he's comfortable with you doing that. And this is something why if you have a puppy, messing with their paws is something you want to do on a regular basis so they just get comfortable with that activity. All right, so this is how to do it with the trimmers. Now, if your dog's nails are really long, they can actually splinter down the axis of the nail and have to be amputated. And I've worked with clients where that's the case. It will not grow back like it does for humans when you amputate it. So, and it looks weird. And so what I would do is don't let them get too long, because when they get too long, that's when it happens. Now, I dog ski with my dogs. I put on harnesses and have pull me down the beach in Santa Monica or Venice on rollerblades or a skateboard, and that sidewalk wears them out. So if you walk your dog a lot or if it runs a lot, that'll help not follow us down. But let's say you have a big chunk of white, the non-quick part. Don't go all the way to it. Go like maybe, the first part you just do just a tiny little bit off of it, and a little bit more and a little bit more. And you will be tempted to go as close as you can to the quick, but that will create pressure and that will create a negative experience. And the whole point of this is have none of it be a pleasant experience from start to bottom, or bottom to top, or whatever you want to say. Okay, so now if I'm doing this with, that's what they use these. If I want to do a Dremel, there's a sound and there's a smell. The smell we don't really worry about, but the sound we need to worry about. So I'd start off doing the first thing. I would get him comfortable with the paw, and then get comfortable holding the digit first, and then the digit by the nail while we're feeding him his kibble. And once we get to the point where he's just completely relaxed and wants to do that, then what I would do is I would have somebody over there with the Dremel, And you want to move that person far enough away where when I turn the Dremel on, he doesn't get up out of a sit. I usually have him to sit when we're doing this. So I'm sitting. What I do is, before I even touch the nails, is I want to create a positive association with the sound. So what I do is have somebody over there, and I pop a treat in his mouth, and as soon as the treat goes in his mouth, the person over there turns the Dremel on. So now he hears the sound of the Dremel while the treat in his mouth. And then as soon as, and you got to guesstimate how many bites it takes for him to chew it, and he swallows it. Because you want to stop the sound the instant the treat goes away from his mouth, or before if you can. And so I only hear the sound of the Dremel when I have this delicious treat in my mouth. And so on and off with your feeding him all these little pieces. So after one meal, probably will be enough for that. And you can also do it at other times as well. Just throw some treats on the ground, turn on, off, on, off, on, off. So the next stage is actually hold up his digit and have somebody over there, and we pop the treat in his mouth, hold up the digit, and they turn the Dremel on while he's chewing it. As soon as he gets done chewing, we let go of the digit and turn the Dremel off. And this is like at 10 feet or whatever the distance is to keep him stay seated. Then we go to 9 feet, 8 foot, 7 foot. When we do this, each time I go through all 10 nails, or 20 nails, excuse me, depending on if he has back dew claws, before I take a step closer. So by the time you get to the point where you're turning the Dremel on and off here, he is so relaxed and he has a positive association with the Dremel. The next stage is when I would hold up the digit, I would give him the piece of kibble, hold the digit, and then touch the Dremel off. Just touch the end of his nail. And then take it and let go of his hand, give another, put his paw, get another, or paw, treat, touch, or hold, touch. And you're gonna do that for all the paws and keep on doing that until he's very relaxed. He's pulling away, or he's tense, or he's shaking. He's saying, I'm not comfortable. So don't go to the next stage until he's completely relaxed. Once you got to that point, the next stage is gonna be to turn on and touch it with it on. This is a hard stage. Like when you're trimming, that's the hard stage for these. So when you do that, the first time you do it, if he's relaxed, I would again, put 5 treats and then stop at that point and give him a little bit of a massage and just do something, play fetch, do something he really likes doing. And then come back about 10 minutes later and do the next paw. So slow and steady, slow and steady. Again, horrible for TV, great for fixing the problem permanently. And eventually you get to the point where you can Dremel a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. Now once your dog is comfortable, you should really never Dremel more than about 3 seconds on one nail at a given time. It will heat up the nail to friction, and it will start burning. And that will hurt in a different way, and then it will create a negative association with that as well. But if you do it properly, you saw he's laying down here, that's how the energy the dog should have. Right now, the dog, you have to actually take him to the vet and put him under, and then give him another shot to wake him up. And anytime we put a dog asleep or wake him up, that's dangerous. He's young and he's healthy, so we can get away with it, but it's expensive and it's unnecessary if you use this method. Now, if you use this method and you go slow at your dog's pace, after a while, like I said, the dog will be comfortable. And come up with a funny word. Call it manicure or mani-pedi, or the name of your favorite nail salon. Again, those, she agrees. But the fun command words can really help you have a positive association with it. And if you feel nice and relaxed, the dogs are very much mirrors of us. If I feel nice and relaxed, the dog's going to feel much more comfortable. But this is a trust exercise. If you push too far and don't listen to your dog, you're going to break the trust. If you read your dog's body language and go at their pace and make it nice and slow and positive, at the end of the exercise, the dog is comfortable with you doing it. And now the rest of your dog's life, when you do this, it's easy. Now, I'm going to give a little bonus tip because he also doesn't like getting shots at the vet. So we can do a similar sort of a scenario with that. And you can show your vet this video, or I'm going to send a link to you so you can watch this. So this is called a conditioned emotional response when I'm going like this. So in this case, this would represent the needle. And I would just do it with an empty needle with no needle on it. So just go in there, and I would go in there with not him getting a shot. Getting him going into there, and go in there and just have a copious amount of treats. He goes in there, give treats to everybody there. Maybe put him in the car and give all the nurse tech, vet techs treats. And he comes in, sit, treat, sit, and then everybody he goes to just gives me a treat. So maybe have a visit or two, or I just go in there, nobody sticks their finger in my butt, nobody looks at my tail, nobody's messing with my nails, I'm not getting any shots. And eventually, if you can, go in an exam room, sit down, get on the exam table, and every stage he gets a treat or a couple treats. And then you leave. And so we build up some positive association. I go into the vet, and especially the vet that's giving your dog the shot, they need to, in between sessions, just come in there, give your dog a treat or two. And then it would be nice, you could probably do the CER at first, and I would do it there. You could also do it, have to give you a needle without the actual needle part of the syringe. And then basically at home and do this, what I was talking about. So you just get and do it in different parts of your house. If I don't change my knees, I'm going to have a heart attack from having lots of circulation. But the idea is, I look at that syringe and I get delicious treats. I have a positive association. Then you've gone into the vet's office a couple times and had a positive association getting treats from all these people. If you can, some vets will have like downtime during lunch. If you can, get them a bully stick or a Marrowbone, go into the exam room and give them a bully stick and let them just chew on the bully stick in the exam room. Again, another positive experience at the vet's office, and he leaves and nobody stuck his finger anywhere, but I didn't want him to stick their finger. Okay, so then the next stage would, after you get this, the dog is comfortable with the CR. First I have to look at it, then I have to lean towards it, then I have to touch it with my nose. Then the next stage would be to have it without the needle and just approximate the same thing I described in this video by just grabbing a little bit of his fur and pinching it like that. So you give him a piece of kibble first, and then you grab a little bit. And this is something I would have you guys do at home so he gets used to that interaction. Ask your vet where they would like to get the injections, usually in the hind rear area, but ask them where, and that's the area where you should practice. So you're practicing the same thing. Yes, buddy. So by the time your vet actually is doing this, the dog is very comfortable with pinching the skin and doing this. Now the next stage, what I would do is get that syringe at home without the needle, and once you do this, touch it to the little section that you pull up. So treat, hold, touch, let go. Treat, hold, touch, let go. And so he's just getting used to it, and there's not the actual needle part. For most dogs, the needle is really not that painful for them. It's just the experience is they get worked up, and I go to the vet's office and I start breathing heavy. And then they put me in a room, and then this guy comes in, and I don't know this guy, and then I'm not getting any positive reinforcement. I'm working myself up into a frenzy. It's kind of like if you're arguing with somebody, let's say you're talking to AT&T, who I have to talk to a lot, and they're not doing very good, and you're on the phone longer and longer and longer. Eventually, like, you're exploding to them, even if it was just like a 5-cent mischarge or whatever. You can work yourself up into frenzy, and often dogs do the same thing. The idea is we want the dog to have this sort of energy when we're in the vet's office because we've taken our time, we've helped them practice it, we've done it in small individual steps, we've incorporated a large amount of positive reinforcement, and we've helped them practice at home first, then practice just going there and practicing the activity in small individual steps. And this is really what I do as a dog psychologist a lot, is break things down to individual steps, help the dog practice step 1 over and over and over without going to step 2 until the dog's completely comfortable with step 1. Then we can go to all the individual steps in the easiest capacity. Then we make it more and more realistic until eventually we get back to the real world situation and the dog's getting a shot and doesn't even know it. Now, when we do get to the point where they're giving a shot, we probably would like to have him wearing a muzzle just for the safety of the vet tech or the vet. The vet probably is watching this going, hell yeah, tell everybody else. Vets get bit a lot because usually we take our dog to the vet, it's not feeling good, and the vet's there to help. The dog doesn't know that, it's just associated. I don't feel good, and I go to see this guy. Every time I see this guy, I'm not feeling good. That's why going to the vet's office and giving all these treats and having a positive experience without being touched is so valuable. And to get a puppy, it's one of the best things you can do is take it in several times before you go in for a shot. So these are just my friends that all hook me up with treats. When you do your muzzle, a lot of people do, first of all, mistakes with the muzzle. A lot of people use the wrong muzzle. The vet's office, I'm sure, won't let you do this, but most people will use the muzzle that looks prettier, which is what we call a snout muzzle. It goes around this way. The muzzle that you want, it looks like a football face mask or the Hannibal Lecter. The reason for that is when dogs overheat, they open their mouth and they let a liquid evaporate from their tongue. The snout muzzle doesn't allow them to open their mouth, and they can very easily overheat because this is a stressful situation. So you want them used to this. But if the only time this goes on me is when I'm going to the vet and he's going to give me a shot, well, this makes me all pissed off. So we want to help the dog practice that, and I do the same CER response for the muzzle. So I have the muzzle behind me, I hold it up, he looks at it, I pull it away and drop the treat. And keep on doing that until he's leaning for it and then touching it. Next step is I usually get lunch meat. I hold the muzzle upside down, so it's like a basket. And then I usually get a piece of roast beef and I put it in the bottom of that muzzle. And then I have the dog come over and it licks it out. And then I do that in different parts of the house. So the dog's like, muzzle equals roast beef. I like roast beef. So after a while, the dog will come, you hold it up, the dog will run over and shove his nose into the muzzle. And when he gets to that point, then you want to hold, you can put a couple pieces of kibble so he's got to eat a couple pieces. And what you want to do is have him practice having his nose in there for progressively longer and longer periods of time. And eventually then you want to actually hold it up on his nose while he's chewing the kibble, and he's fine because he's chewing the kibble. When he gets done, then you take it off. And next time maybe you hold it a second longer. We get to the point where you can hold it up for like 15 seconds, or even when he's done with the kibble. Maybe you're petting him while he's doing this. Then you're ready to actually attach it and then immediately detach it and take it off, and then give him like 3 pieces of kibble. And then eventually you attach it and leave it on for 1 second. And you're doing this at home, so it's not presence of the vet or the strange environment. I'm very relaxed, and again, only do this when he's nice and relaxed. All of this stuff in this video, only when he's been properly exercised and nice and relaxed, like this energy. And eventually you get to the point where you can leave that muzzle on, and that muzzle allows him to drink and eat which is also why it's better. And you want him to practice wearing the muzzle at home for progressively longer and longer periods of time, supervised only, of course. So it's not associated. When the muzzle comes on, somebody's gonna give me a shot, because they understand that they're somewhat neutered. They can't use their mouth to control. So we, again, need to build up that trust and the positive association. If you do this right, I've seen dogs that actually have to be muzzled. You pull out the muzzle and the tail wags in a happy way, and they run over there, gleefully put it on, and they are content. So by the time you actually are putting it on in the vet's office, you should be 99% sure that the dog is not going to bite the vet. You just do that to make sure your vet stays safe, which we always need to do, and most people unfortunately are not. Oh, the vet will take care of it. No, the vet requires us. A lot of vets are good and they will do that, but it's our responsibility as the dog guardian to put our dog in position to succeed. If you take these steps and go slow, your dog will like having its nails trimmed. It will like having the muzzle on, and it will like getting that the fold of skin held. And when we actually start giving the shot, no big deal. All right, well, this is Maverick, and you can see he's a maniac. And these are some tips and tricks you can use if your dog doesn't like having its nail trimmed, or doesn't like getting a shot, or doesn't like to wear a muzzle.